Guys, welcome back. Thank you for stopping by, taking your time, and yeah, here's the session number 4. It took me some time, and I'm glad that I don't promise anything upfront that I can't fulfill. So yeah, it just took me some weeks to make this one, but it's better to have it later than never done it to the end. So this is one of the commitment things that you need to have in mind for you later on, that this is one of the things that is important to, yeah, just to be present. And at the end of the day, this commitment thing that, yeah, you just finish things, it will give you a lot of success, no matter if this is connected to music or not. So today we have, yeah, session number 4 of the final chase Spitfire content. Already forgot the the content because it was, yeah, really, really important. So yeah, I just want to put together the scene where the cars are moving and the strap part, and yeah, just talk again briefly about the groups, the instruments, and as well dive a little bit into the mix, not into depth, but just giving you an idea what it is actually about when you work on these type of cues, especially for if you have the chance to compose something for yeah, a film. So I play the cue once again. This is what I do in the beginning, and yeah, we move from there. Let's go. Yeah, and then we have the last part, which yeah, I do it in another part. Yeah, the last one. So yeah, cool. This was the transition part where the cars are yeah, moving around and trying to catch each other, and then the strap part. I need to say about the strap part, I don't like it now in terms of the sounds that I've chosen, because usually trap is connected to 808 yeah, kicks that are pitched to, yeah, a certain note. However, I'm not really an expert in trap music. However, here and there, it's really nice to just try to yeah, copy a style in a way that yeah, is a little bit connected to these modern sounds. Although I'm actually working on another hip hop beat that is really much better in terms of sound, yeah, choosement, selection. Is there a word? Choosement. So selection. This is the right word. And yeah, I actually showed it in the last video, the speed. But this is one thing that you as well need to have in mind. If you copy a genre, make sure that you use really good samples from that genre. I think that in this yeah, these sounds that I've chosen are okay, but they are not perfect. The brass is really cool, but the kick drum and the 808, usually this 808 is a really strong low note. Um, Sounds, if I solo it for just a second. Yeah, usually what you do when you write or produce trap music, um, the 808, it's kind of a sine wave. It's really clean in this case, but when you hear modern productions, it's a lot of yeah, saturation, because if you hear this 808 on small speakers, you will not hear it on small speakers because there are no harmonics. So you don't have high frequency content or even a pitch that is somewhere in the high range. So it's really tough to hear. So this is why today we have this 808s that just cut through the mix, and this is what I didn't do because of the reason that I just had no connection to the genre. However, I just wanted to make type of this trap sound, and the snare or the both snares. Yeah, they. Um, I mean the more present one with the bottom. Yeah, it's one of the electronic snares, but I believe if you really want to have this really good and solid hit on 2 and 4, you need to have a better sample that is making more sense. Especially the mix here is really full, and right now, if I just solo the drums. Yeah, I mean, I could do it much better, but again, this is a thing that is that the name of this is experience for a certain genre, at least spending some time, which I didn't. So for the beat I'm working on right now, it sounds much better. I actually play it right now, so you hear the difference. What it means if you spend just 1 2 hours learning and hearing what the genre is actually doing. Swag on overload boy. Swag on overload boy. Swag on overload boy. Yeah, but as well, if you compose something like that for a scene movie where you don't have really a lot of time, you just need to go from where you can go, and you just need to finish the stuff as quickly as possible. And I mean, this is not embarrassing, or I'm not embarrassed that it's not really working as if I compare it to the real trap, right? Um, but I know that it could be much better. So this is one thing that is important as well, just to reflect what you did. I don't know, 2 3 4 6 months ago. So you still know, hey, is there something that I can improve if I will do something similar in the future? So yeah, make sure to do that. It really helps. Okay, let's check out the. I play the brass. I don't have a lot of strings here in the cue, but I will play the brass and the woods together. Yeah, so in the wood section you hear yeah, just this basically staccato running, kind of a walking bass, boom, 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 and the brass is basically yeah, just playing this fast staccato and complementing with with this long hold. Um, mm, what's the name? This is one thing that you can just grab from here, that one section is doing completely different stuff as the other section. And I mean, this cue, especially this, yeah, this section, it's really chaotic. So you need to make sure that if you have a cue that is dark and you don't know what will happen actually in the next couple of seconds, you need to yeah, just use um, a musical, yeah, just a musical style that is fitting what you actually expect. So basically, one good example would be that you create chaos because you see that there is chaos because the cars are chasing each other. You don't know actually what will happen in the next couple of seconds. So when yeah, so when one section is playing this staccato notes like this walking bass, the other section can complement it with yeah, in the breaks especially with yeah, staccato notes, or even this kind of crescendo effects, or we will hear it later on. I play it I play it with the tutis actually now, and it will make a little bit more sense. So I play it from the beginning with the tutti and play it till the end of yeah, of this chaos session. This is exactly what I mean. So you hear this the woods, the high woods, the piccolos, the flutes. You hear this from a high note to a lower note, and yeah, you just say with these kind of effects, and especially in this type of cue, that something will happen. However, you don't know what will happen because it's really chaotic and everything is moving around and jumping around. You have a lot of hits, or I composed a lot of hits here. I just mute and play this tutis. Yeah, the cool thing is, I said it maybe in the sessions before, the tutti hits, they have basically a lot of instruments in the recorded hit. So here it was a great implement with the brass and with the string hits. So This is working really nice to, yeah, just make the cue a little bit fuller. And yeah, so I mean, you hear the chaos. Nothing is really that you can grab. You have a rhythm that is going through. However, it's a lot of chaos that I created, and this is, yeah, what this section is about. The same is in the percussion. Yeah, so they complement what the tutti hits are doing. You hear the fast marimba in the background. I play it with the tuttis again. Yeah, actually, the ending is quite interesting. Usually, if you would hear it on without the picture, so like now, it maybe doesn't make a lot of sense because I just cut out the bar at the end. However, this is what film music is really about. If you don't have the time to express, you need to improvise, and you either cut out the bar or do a different bar with yeah, just a hit that it makes sense that you start a new bar. For example, you go from 4/4 to 3/4 or 2/4. Or if there is a possibility, you just either slow down the tempo or you try to yeah, increase the tempo to a certain hitting point. And yeah, actually, this is what I have written in my blog. And this is obviously important to do because you don't have the possibility to, yeah, to cut the picture for your music. In when you compose for the film composer is basically almost the last person who sees the movie, and your job is really to compose for the film that is almost done. And it's really rare that a composer is actually composing the music before he sees the picture. Of course, there are people like Hans Zimmer. However, this is obviously something different, and we need to be still, yeah, kind of realistic what we are doing here. But the funny part is, I have a project right now that is exactly the same what Hans is doing sometimes. So basically, the director said, Alexei, just make an awesome track, and I do an awesome video. And this is, of course, fun because I can do whatever I like in terms of musical, right, musical things. So I know that no matter what I do, the picture will always fit what I do. So I don't need to waste a lot of time trying to, yeah, trying to adjust the tempo or cutting out the bars that don't make sense. But this is still, again, this is something that you need to have in mind, that when you compose for moving, yeah, pictures, that at some point you need to go out of 4/4 or 6/8 in terms of yeah, just hitting the right sync points. Otherwise, it will not work, and people will think like, why is the music always the same? Although, for example, the scene starts to be much more faster or even slower. So yeah, you need to work with the film that the story is giving you. Cool. What do we have else? Um, yeah, I have some trailer hits here that are, yeah, I mean, these are the hits. Again, this is nothing that is special or anything like that. If I mute them, it would work as well, but sometimes you just have this feeling something is missing, and depending again on the accent you want to make, sometimes you just need a bigger hit. And here I just yeah, just wanted to have this trailer. I mean, it has, of course, much more power, and it says, hey, something is now really going on. Yeah, so basically, it's kind of a storytelling with the music. Yeah, cool. This is what we have until now. And now let's check out the piano because it's funny too. The piano, the low notes, the low octave piano is playing the same, yeah, kind of a rhythm and yeah, this walking bass, like the wood section, but yeah, it's playing them through the whole time. And this second piano is playing the hits, so supporting with the accents. Obviously, of course, the harmony. I don't remember what harmony I have there, but it's yeah, not something super special. However, in the end, when you hear these fast piano runs, I hear that the piano, so the right hand basically, so the high octave, is a little bit less present. So it's lower in volume. However, it depends again on the mix. So you can't just decide that, yeah, you have this low octave piano, you have this high octave piano, they need to make sense together. Obviously, yes. But when you play the whole mix, and I just play the whole mix here. As you hear, you don't hear a lot of this bass from the low octave piano. It's somewhere there, but it's more like a feeling and yeah, just it's just there. But this high octave piano, you hear it with the marimba, obviously, because usually high frequencies are cutting through the mix much more easily than low octave. But remember that we have in this cue we have a lot of hits from the tutti section, so they take a lot of space, and this is actually where I just want to dive shortly into the mix because it's funny for people who want to mix their own music, and at some point you just need to start mixing your own music. You can't always pay a mixing engineer to make a track sounding better. So yeah, you don't have the time, you don't have the money, and you need to learn how to mix. And this is what I just want to say to you, that don't I need to make it really clear, and you need just to understand, because I just want to make an example here and actually a statement too. So, first of all, it depends on how much time you have, okay? And if you don't have a lot of time to compose, and I had a deadline too with this cue that I set for myself, I wasn't running out of time for the deadline, but I set a deadline for myself because I had something else to do in my life. So I had to be extremely productive and extremely efficient. So here I decided, if you look at the session, so basically look at the plugins that I have for a second. I just scroll it a little bit to the right. The session is quite large. We have how many? Almost 100, more than 100 instruments or tracks. However, you see, I don't have a lot of plugins. And the plugins that I actually have are almost in every channel what I have, that I really can say that it will help you too, if you just understand what I say right now. The most important part of mixing, or why mixing is mixing, you need to understand that the recipe, it's like cooking, you need to have the right ingredients all the time, at every just at every single arrangement part. So basically, when the instruments are playing together, they need to fit together well enough that you hear all the instruments you want to hear. And so the most important aspect here is not using EQs or compressors or whatever you have in your toolbox. Of course, the most important are the EQs and compressors, but it is your fader, right? That you are moving from the bottom to the height, or how do you call it, to the top, from the bottom to the top. Yeah, it's funny, but I think you understand it. The most important instrument in mixing is your fader. It's nothing else. So if somebody is every time saying to you, yeah, here's the compressor, I used this compressor and my mix sounded better, or this instrument or whatever, this is crap, guys. This is not serious, because these people, and especially I know it because I spend a lot of time making music, and I spend a lot of time engineering music. And people who are only engineering, they oftentimes lose, I mean, especially in the beginning of their career, they lose extremely fast the perspective what we are actually doing as well as engineers, because at this point you are an engineer and you need to think like an engineer, because the best part is when you print your MIDI files, right, your instrument tracks. So you have your audio tracks like here, and you have your mixing session. So you forget what you did with your music, basically. However, you still need to think about what you can improve in order to, just make the music standing there a little bit better than before mixing. And of course, compressors and EQs are involved, but believe me that at some point you heard your production so many times that you lose, in most cases, the perspective at some point. So you just need to make a break. A cool thing would be just if you have the time, pause for 1 or 2 days, because usually these type of cues you can't do in one day. You just don't have the physical time to make so much music in one day. especially with the whole arrangement and yeah, just all this producing. But when you come back to your mixing session, you hear the track once through. There are two super important steps that you just don't need to forget or just need to have in mind every time you start a mix. So, of course, you can clean up the files as I did. So when I just zoom out the session, you see everywhere I cut the files, so I just see the session better, and it saves me some resources, so the file is not playing all the time. But the most important thing that you need to start when you start with this mix, on the right, I have this main channel. It's basically my yeah, kind of I don't know the English word right now, but it's basically an insight for me what is going in the mix. So, for example, this BX meter is telling me how much dynamics my mix has. It's not important as the first step, but it's just an example that in this for my main bus I have yeah just plugins that show me what the mix is actually doing together. I have an EQ that is just basically for me as a control, where are the frequencies and so on. But still, this is not important. The most important thing that I start when I start a mix is the manipulator, and it's actually a plugin that just basically makes the mix mono. So you hear your track in mono all the time. The first, let's say 70-80% of your whole mix, of your whole session, you mix it in, or I mix it in mono. So I don't hear something on my left, right channel or right channel as a solo instrument. Everything I hear in the middle of the stereo field. Then, when I did it, I start to balance everything out. And then what I do is, especially for the whole mix, for all the sections, I switch it on, switch it off, switch it on, switch it off all the time. I do it all the time, so I make sure that when the mix is played in stereo, what of course the final result will be, right? That it's still working in stereo, because at the end of the day, the mix will work, should work in stereo as well, because most people, when they hear it in the theater or they hear it on headphones, they will obviously hear it in stereo. And when someone is listening on a smartphone or a laptop, of course it's mono. So you need just to cover and make sure that you can let the mix work in both mono and stereo. Maybe you already know it, and yeah, just people say it here and there, but believe me, there is nothing else more important than these two steps. And most people, what I see everywhere, they are starting to open plugins, and they believe that they will rescue the mix or improve the mix or anything like that, like the cues and compressors, and here's the saturation, and then we have this tape machine and here and there. But this is really not the case. It's not improving your mix. The first thing that is improving your mix is when you set the levels to a point where you hear what you want to hear. And because you did the music, and if you want to hear an instrument at a specific place where the instrument is playing something important, you need to be able to hear it, and you can only be able to hear it when you move the fader up, right? And this is of course not a secret, but many people forget it, that it's actually about moving faders. The same when you yeah, imagine you're standing in front of a big console and you need to make a live show, mixing a band or something else. The only thing that you are actually doing is moving the faders up and down. This is the only thing that you do for 80-90% of the time you're standing behind the console. You're not pushing the buttons, you're not yeah, just going into the different EQs. You do it in the pre-stage, pre-production, and if something happens during the live show, something is bothering you, yes, you do it, of course, but you not do it all the time. All the time you write the faders, and this is what you do here, and don't forget it. And I believe that many are just looking too much into plugins, and this is a great plugin, this is a great plugin, this is what saved my ass. Yeah, I mean, you understand it. Of course I have these types of tools, okay? Yes, and of course I could use another compressor, but if you're not at the point where you understand like why you should or could use this SSL type of compressor, then there is really no reason to have or dive into these tools, because still the most important thing that I did in the whole mix, that I spent really a lot of time, and as you see um, in my session, everywhere you see, almost everywhere, read. It means that I wrote automation. Every time I'm writing the faders, if the instrument is not present in the mix, but I just want to hear it because I know, hey, I composed it. Where is the trumpet? I don't hear the trumpet. So the only thing that I can do first is obviously to write the fader, or the clip gain, depending on your DAW. But this is the thing that I do all the time before I really dive into all this compressors and EQs, etc., etc. And I really spend a lot of time doing it. And I can, yeah, just say that it's working really well, because it really makes sense. And I mean, I mix live shows and I know what it means. Yeah, just for the whole concert. Nobody cares what kind of EQs and compressors you're using, right? Or what kind of delay or reverb is on the bass. Nobody cares. Everybody cares that you hear the instruments, you hear the solo, and you hear obviously the singers. The same is here. Even if it's film music, it's the same concept. Faders, mono, stereo, flipping all the time, and making sure that if you want to hear an instrument at a specific place, right, you need to make sure that you push the fader. If you don't need it, or everything is working for you fine, then you just leave it. It's really simple. Yeah, so at the end of the mix, and basically this is one of the first things that I do, somewhere I would say 25-30% into the mix. So I spent some time on faders and yeah, gain staging, basically. Sorry, I have my master chain. I will not go into it today. I will do another session about it, what I do there. Yeah, but it's really the only thing that yeah, that I do for this type of work, especially if I hear everything is working fine. I don't need to waste my time actually trying to, hey, guitar, I need to, push 3K or something like that. If I hear it that the guitar is missing somewhere, yes, I do it. But if I hear in 2 days that I just don't need to do it, I just give the production to the director, and that's it. Okay, so I mean, there is no really time to get into the detail in the beginning, because you will not have the time at the end, and you need to have the product really, yeah, the music in the first 2 days, something like that, that you need, yeah, if you have the time, you just need to know that the product is really made in the first hours. It's not made in the last 2 hours. And the more you spend time on really wasting your time diving into these plugins, you will not come really far in the business too, because the people are not waiting. They want to have a product, and they don't care what kind of plugins you use. They want to hear your music as fast as possible. And if you can deliver it, you are someone they can trust the next production. And if you're not this type of guy, you says, yeah, I have some troubles or whatever, you don't have the troubles, you just wasted your time in the beginning. This is what I just want to say all the time. And I repeat myself maybe 4 or 5 times, but it's really crucial to understand what it is actually about. It's not about the plugins, it's about your yeah, gain staging, your mixing, and pushing, yeah, the faders up and down all the time, and trying to make sure that your mono and stereo are working. Especially one technical thing, what happens with the, I open this plugin again. As you see here, usually the stereo channel, no, the mono channel. So when you flip to mono, you lose gain when they are yeah, combined together, the channels, left plus right. So when you lose gain, it means that your yeah, your production is sounding a little bit less present, right? Because you lose the gain, you lose the volume. So you need somehow to compensate, and you can only compensate and make the levels work really right, as when you are always yeah, flipping here and there, mono, stereo, mono, stereo. Obviously, I do it with the yeah, on-off button. Yeah, but this is really the most important thing for me in the first part, in the first half, when I start to mix, especially these kind of projects that are so huge. Yeah, just you just don't have the time, and you need to work extremely fast, and this is what the most important thing is. So no, really, no reason to waste your time on, hey, this frequency is not working with this instrument. It's really not important, guys. I mean, other mixing engineers will say, I would not say that, but believe me, if they don't have the time, they will do the same things. So if you have the time, you can, of course, jump into the session, make everything more precise. But if you don't have the time, you work as fast as possible, as efficient and as productive as you can. And you just need to know this thing. Cool, let's play the last one. I talked for half an hour without playing anything. And now I play this trap part again. Yeah, I mean, I said it in the beginning. The 808 could be much more present. It could, yeah, definitely use more saturation. So we have a little bit more high end with the harmonics. But yeah, this is what I did. So I will not change anything, or I don't need to. It's just basically a thing that will be improved in the next mix, right? This is always a thing that, yeah, we need to do. We need to improve from the day before. And this is what I did in the track that I played before. Because I just spent a little bit more time learning about the trap genre. Okay, so there are a lot of things obviously connected to every genre. So people, this is something that you need to know actually as well. That there are so many people out there who say that, yeah, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this and that. So basically everything. And yeah, I mean, how many people are really the Beethovens and Mozarts of our time? Almost nobody. So yeah, I mean, what I can say is, if you have the interest, learn as many genres as you like, as you can. But I really don't put any pressure on myself. For example, if there is a specific genre um, that I'm not, yeah, just uh, good at because I never spent the time and never had the interest, I will not say that I will, produce something like that. If I have to, because I have to, then it's another thing. Then I can just spend some time trying to figure out, okay, how are the harmonies working, what kind of sounds are used, what about the drums, what about the mix, how much should I compress the instruments, how much automation with special effects, etc. But if I don't have to, I don't put any pressure, and will never definitely say that, hey, I'm expert in trap music or something like that. If I just make it for myself, that's cool, and you obviously too. But we just don't need to lie to someone else in terms that we can do everything. We don't. We are good at what we are doing now and what we did in the past. So there is always, so many things that we, as composers specifically, and producers, and mixing engineers as well, if there's so yeah, I mean, there are so many mixing engineers too. They say, yeah, I mix every genre. This is what I don't understand. Yeah, I mean, seriously, if someone asked me, hey, Alexei, please mix my metal band, I will say, no, I will not do it. Why? Because I can't. I'm not an expert in mixing metal music. However, if someone says, hey, I have this trailer music track and I just want to make it more sounding like a trailer music track, please help me with a mix. That's another story. I mean, I did it so many times. So obviously, I spend a lot of time learning the skills in this genre. So I know exactly what is working, what is not working, how should I approach the mix. And metal, I mean, I don't hear any metal, so I never spend the time. And yeah, just as a side information. So one important thing here as well, there are many important things, but one specifically here, what I hear a lot as well in production music. So if you are composing for libraries, make sure really that here and there you use breaks in your tracks, because especially in film music, I mean, this should be clear that at some point the audience, the listeners, they just need to breathe. And if you are just placing everywhere the trailer hits all the time without any pauses, without any breaks, the people become extremely tired hearing your music. And the same with production music. Make sure that you have breaks in between, because it creates tension and excuse me, and it just gives time to the listeners to enjoy the part that is coming after the break, because in this time the ears are getting um, a different type of information, because they are getting a pause, something that is actually not music but is connected extremely um, yeah well to music when we just do the breaks, especially if you start diving into really if you play an instrument, especially let's say brass or woods, you at some point need to breathe, right? And when writing for brass and woodwinds, it's I mean, you can't write all the time 16 notes through. I mean, it's impossible, right? Playing woodwinds for 3, 4, 5 minutes without any breaks. I mean, the players would look at you and ask you like, "Are you really a composer?" They wouldn't take you seriously. So make sure to just place enough breaks in between, and this will make your music really much more interesting, much more, much more musical at the end, because you're not, you're not crushing all the time and, like, like metal in this case, right? But in metal, they they do breaks here and there to make to make a break. Yeah, so this information about the breaks, because I used one here. What else to say? Um, Not much. I mean, again, this is actually the cue itself with this kind of modern trap part. I had this idea first, not when I composed, but when I saw the movie. I knew that after how much we have, 240, 245, I knew that I needed musical wise something different. And especially this scene was so cool with this drone, right? And I used this effects. Um, let's just solo and we hear it. Yeah. So basically, we hear the effects for the drone, right? And I mean, it's kind of a cool thing that I saw, because it came back, and this is kind of, it was kind of funny to me, and I thought like, okay, what can I do in order to make it more um, more modern. And so I thought like, okay, I put a beat together, and then I came up with this beat idea. If I just play this trap. I mean, I don't like the kick right now. And this is what I said before. Everything that what we do today, it doesn't mean that we will like it in 30 days or 30 years. I mean, you like it at the time that you do it for a reason, and maybe after a couple of months you just don't like the sound anymore. And yeah, this is how it is. I mean, if somebody doesn't like our music, then he doesn't like our music. So we can't do anything about it, right? We can't compose or produce music that everybody will like. I mean, this is what it is. And if you are honest to yourself that you don't like your music at some points as well, this is a really strong thing, actually, because it puts you down in your ego, right? And arrogance maybe as well to a certain degree. So I believe it's definitely yeah, critical and crucial to reflect about your personal development and in making music, producing music. So I'm totally open-minded when it comes to this type of topics. So, but again, the most important thing is that the director and the people we're working with liking what we are doing, because they are paying the money, and yeah, they are the people who basically give us the jobs, right? Or the music supervisors, if they say, "Hey, dude, do this," um, because it's better, then you just need to do it. Nobody cares if you personally like it or not. They like it, and they are in the position to say something like that. And this is one thing that I believe young composers, young producers need to, yeah, just to learn with time that it's not, yeah, it's not a business where you place yourself every time, yeah, in the first place. You just need to hear what people are telling you right and left. You need to compromise a lot of things, obviously, of course. um, However, the product is not really about you, it's about the product, right? So yeah, just make sure if you work with someone that he is really happy with the result, because everything else really doesn't matter. And if you don't like the collaboration or something like that, then next time you just don't work with these people. I mean, I did it so many times too, where I just said, sorry, I just don't have any fun working with you. I mean, I didn't say it like that, obviously, but but sometimes you just need to make really clear statements that, hey, dude, this is not working. I don't like it, and that's it. I mean, he needs to accept it, and if he doesn't accept it, that's his thing, and you move from there, right? I mean, there is no reason to work with someone you don't like and you can't work with, right? I mean, really depending on the personal style and yeah, just the workflow and everything what is connected to it. So that's it for it today. It's now another hour or so, but yeah, sometimes it's really nice to just let go and talk about certain types of things. I hope you liked it, guys. And yeah, I mean, if you have something to add, drop it in the comments box down below. You already know it. And yeah, just yeah, take care, enjoy yourself, be amazing, and see you in the next video, guys. Thank you for watching. Bye.